It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Are you a lifelong fan of General Hospital?
Are you a new fan who wants to know more about the history of the show?
Do you enjoy talking about the show with others?
Do you find yourself yelling at the TV?
Is your self-care an hour a day in Port Charles?
If so, we invite you to join hosts
Amanda Kimmel
and Shannon Coach at the place where all the hidden conversations take place and secrets are revealed.
Meet us at Pier 54,
a General Hospital fan podcast.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the General Hospital recap for May 27th through 30th, because Monday was Memorial Day, so we only had 4 episodes, but they were pretty packed.
Yeah.
I think it was a good kickoff to summer.
Yes.
One thing we kind of forgot to announce as a pipeline last week. Do you want to share the happy news that happened that you sent me?
What did I send you last week? Come on, you're trying to make me pull from. Do you know how many conversations we have a week?
That is true. Somebody got married.
Oh, let me find it. Okay, I did think that was what you were talking about.
Hint, hint.
Okay, so this was from General Hospital official Facebook page. They had a beautiful picture of Steve and his new wife. It's a beautiful couple. Her 2 daughters and Steve's 3 kids were part of the wedding party. And so there's an adorable picture of from People magazine of him and his wife walking in the door, I'm assuming to the reception, and then a family picture of all the kids and them together. So they must have had some connections there to plan that, though, because a wedding in May, they haven't been engaged that long.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Maybe they were actually planning it before. They could have also been engaged sooner than they announced.
True. I forget that they don't know that we're BFFs, and so they're supposed to tell us in real time when these things happen.
Although I think he got engaged New Year's Eve, so that might have been. It just said in January they announced their engagement.
Okay.
And he said that they're set to get married, a private ceremony taking place in Laguna Beach, and that's where they got married. So yeah, they had already had it.
Good for them.
Planned when they announced it. Although, okay, it doesn't really matter. They don't really owe us the date.
They don't.
Did you see who one of the groomsmen was?
No.
Jonathan Jackson.
Aww.
Yeah.
Now, see that we should have been made aware of and got a signed personal picture of.
But yeah, he was one of his groomsmen. And I looked at, there was a video that he released, and it looked like he was the only GH person there. But they're friends. So they've been friends for a really long time. So
I mean, you figure they were teenagers together or young
pretty
adults.
Much.
Grown up, yeah.
Well, when Jonathan Jackson came on, Steve Burton's 10 years older, because isn't Jonathan Jackson my age?
Yeah.
So Jason was an adult when Lucky came to town, but then obviously we already know. Here, I'll just give a quick 411 this week is Lucky and Liz part 27. We are in July 23rd to August 27th, 2007. And this is where we are in the throes of Liz trying to decide between Lucky and Jason, and Jake was just born and all that stuff. So if you haven't been listening, and I've been doing a really bad job of, we should probably be giving a recap of not just we're doing Lucky and Liz. It's what are we talking about with Lucky and Liz? Because they have a pretty in-depth history, if you will.
I mean, I feel like that was the perfect explanation of it. Liz was choosing. That's really it.
Right. But when they were kids, obviously that was not happening for a couple years. But you're right. I mean, they've been friends now for 30 something years. So
that's awesome.
Yes. Something I discovered this week in the car ride to somewhere that I will talk about later. We got to talking. For some reason, JD told me that I speak very monotone. Thank you.
When?
Right. Thank you. And then he said something about in the introduction of our show, in the in the one that we released for promos and in our opening credit. And I went, what are you talking about? So we threw it on real quick. And he's like, okay, I guess it's not as monotone as I was remembering. He's like, your very first one, though. And he said our entire first one. The man has listened to our first episode probably more than he's listened to any others. So I went back and listened. 652 episodes we have, guys, and my husband knows the intro to my first one.
I'm not sure if that's romantic or creepy. Why?
I know.
Why is he listening to the first one over and over again?
Well, and that's the thing, because he said something about how it just comes up sometimes, like when he's listening, and then it'll just go back. I was like, yeah, but typically it picks up on the next one that you haven't listened to, not the very first one. And
right.
I don't know. So I don't know. But my husband apparently has like our first episode memorized, and I only made it 10 minutes because I was like, I haven't listened to this in years.
Oh, no.
We did not have our musical in like, the nice intro that we have now. It was you and I saying in unison, hi, welcome to. It was so bad. But we have come so far. I am so proud of us.
And thank you to our listeners who have held on through all of that, because I hope that they're seeing a difference from the first to now also.
Yes. So I thought that was funny. But then we have some real Poor Charles pipeline. Not real, not like those weren't real, but those were more news. We have a few emails. So let's get started with from Louise. Hola, lovelies. I thought Cody's decision to work with Lulu stemmed from him being able to identify with having his parentage kept from him his whole life. Am I wrong? No, I thought that we talked about that real quick, because he even mentioned that when he told Lulu that that's why. He's like, because I was lied to my entire life and just found out that I was Mac's son and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So no, you're not incorrect. And then Krista, hi, ladies. I have to let my frustration out to someone. So, of course, you guys are the perfect people to do that with. Hi. He had major back surgery. Yet he is moving around like spinal precautions are not a thing. Now, I know that medical stuff is not the writers of the show's forte, but come on. You think he would be allowed to have sex? He literally got out of the hospital that day. And can I add in parentheses, by Stella pulling strings, not even.
Right.
He didn't leave AMA, but they definitely weren't planning to discharge him that day.
Right.
I am writing this on Tuesday, but I would love for him to wake up the next day and not able to move because he was an idiot.
Oh, I like that for him. I don't like that for Trina, because the guilt that she would feel.
Sorry, that's a bit morbid, but at least it would be a little realistic. Listen, I think given both of our reactions that it was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that would be good. But exactly, like not for Trina. Heck, I was out of PE for 6 weeks just from having my appendix removed. Do better, writers. And then in parentheses said, which they did do with Gio, Tracy, and Brook Lynn. They were phenomenal today. Oh, we will so get to all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. You're welcome. Because then also, as I was reading that, and yet here we have Liz on crutches, having somebody caring for her leg.
Right.
Again, my aunt just had ACL surgery last year. So, and that's a little bit more, it's more intense than what Liz went through. And Erica was up moving around. Like, yeah. Erica's also stubborn. So we will, in a good way.
And I think that Liz at this point is more just people being overly nice, because you do see her like pop up to do whatever she needs to do. It's everyone else that is like, oh, let me get that for you, just like an inconvenience thing. But absolutely, just absolutely. There would be so many restrictions. And even just dumb stuff, like it would have been cute to see it played up of like him go to give her a kiss goodnight and her be like, hold on a second, like let me get on my tiptoes or climb on this chair or something, because you can't bend down. And they would have like laughed about it later or something.
So my papa had back surgery and my Grammy was 4'6" and he was over 6 foot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't ask either one of them.
Right.
And Erica's working right now, or else I would. But yeah. I don't know. So I actually had not thought about that. And my dad had like 3 or 4 back surgeries when I was younger. I know that, I mean, we had plywood under the cushions of our couch because he had to lay still, like he couldn't have overly soft.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he was out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially where Kai had this, it's all experimental, it's new, it's.
Mm-hmm.
groundbreaking, whatever it is, you know, that
Exactly.
so many people have been paralyzed.
Even if it was unnecessary, they would be taking so many precautions just to make sure, because it is new. They wouldn't be like, oh yeah, go to the ball, hang out.
Right.
Yeah.
Guy's not Cinderella. He can't go back before midnight and not turn into a pumpkin and have everything undone.
Yeah.
I would imagine, and I don't know, again, you know, this is what we say all the time. We are not medical professionals, but wouldn't you assume also that he would have some kind of a protective brace on?
I would think so.
So,
And
I
I also
don't know.
think that Trina would have said that. Even if he was dumb enough to be like, oh no, it'll be fine. I feel like Trina, I mean, Joss, there's lots of nights that Joss is staying at her mom's or doing something else that we don't see her at home, or times that they're not home together.
Right.
It totally would have made sense for her to be like, I would love for you to stay the night, but you, sir, need to get some rest. We can do this next week. It's not like it's going away.
Not only that, he should be exhausted.
Right.
From that little bit. I mean, when I had my breast reduction just going out, I mean, I overdid it. And that was, I had my surgery on Friday. I went to a closing on Monday and my husband drove. But I remember I was like, well, that was too much.
Right.
You know, it was, you're tired.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So, yes, this entire Kai surgery, wow, I had not considered any of that. Thank you so much. And then Holly sent us 2 emails, one on Thursday, subject, I'm in love with the new Michael. And then in the body, this guy is just awesome. I love him. I agree.
He is doing very good. Yeah.
I'm a fan. And so I analyzed this for ourselves this week. We have a better time accepting recasts when we know that the actors are the reason why they are not portraying the character anymore. Chad Duell chose to leave. Lexi Ainsworth chose to leave.
Right.
But when someone is recast for no reason, I feel like we really struggle.
Yeah.
You know, so like we talked about Jagger last week. If it had come out, if he had tweeted instead, guys, I've retired from acting, I'm not interested.
Right.
I still feel like they did a bad job, but I feel like we would have accepted, all right.
It was like the new Emma. We saw that the original actress said, I could not do it at this time. And you know, we're taking time to warm up. I don't feel like it's the actress that we took a longer time to warm up to, though. I think it was the total shift in writing for the Emma character that we took time to get used to. But yeah, it was acceptable because the actress could not do it at this time. So
to be fair, though, with Emma, so we're seeing her in a rebellious stage, but we missed the teen years of Emma.
Right.
So we don't know. Is this just something we haven't heard? Like maybe Anna's even been unaware because they've been able to maintain it, you know, and it's not something that, you know, Robin's not going to complain to Anna about because she knows that Anna would worry about it and all these things. She's just, oh yeah, Emma's doing this, this, and this. And then she got detention. You know, she's not saying that.
Right.
So I feel like there's a lot of missing years for Emma, but you're absolutely right. Like it was a lot easier when we saw Brook Lynn Seltzer say, I'm done with Emma. Like I love her, but I'm done, you know, and that she wishes this, you know. So I think that might be a good bit of our issue is.
And I feel like we had time to prepare because Chad had been out here and there. So we had other replacements and we're used to seeing someone else playing Michael. And then Michael was gone for so long, you know, abandoning his children that that now he's back and we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and then Holly messaged on Friday, thought of the week. I have low-key anxiety that everyone is in their formal wear way longer than they should be. You take that stuff off as soon as you possibly can. Everyone is lounging around in it when they should be in sweats. Amen. And I actually made a note of it, and I mean, we don't have to get talking about it right now, but when Lois walked into the Quartermain kitchen the next morning, her hair was not in an updo the night before. It was, but her hair was perfectly straight. Like she had her hair pulled back. You know that there was a lot of bobby pins, maybe not so many bobby pins, but she definitely had a lot of hairspray going on, and that her hair would not be poker straight like that. No kinks, nothing.
I
but
felt
she's
like
still
it
in the same
wasn't.
outfit.
I felt like it wasn't as perfect, and I didn't feel like it was as that she looked as disheveled as she should have, because we're assuming that she was up all night crying, hysterical, upset,
Yes.
like
She did not have
so.
puffy eyes.
Whatever. Yes, her makeup was still too perfect, but I felt like her hair was okay, and I understood why she was in the same outfit. But she
Like it
definitely
wasn't
should
in a
have looked
I
a
just feel
little
like there should
worse.
have been a bump or a kink somewhere. It wasn't a
It was a
complete
little
updo,
like
but she had it like
frizzy-ish.
pulled back a lot. Like she
Yeah,
had,
but it was a little frizzy.
see, I don't think enough. I think it should have been a mess.
I don't know. Depends on how much product. You would be surprised at how well your hair, I've learned this now from being a dance mom, how well
Oh,
your hair can stay in place with all the different things that they have out now.
even when you pull it down and have it come down and it'll look perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
it can still, the part that you had, like Madeline has to do a lot of high ponytails or buns, and so this
Hmm.
front part has to be perfectly smooth with no flyaways, and the next morning it still is like perfectly back, and then the part that was the ponytail, yes, obviously is disheveled or whatever, but
But that's what I'm
the
saying.
top
Lois
part,
didn't have any dishevelment from the part that was pulled back.
I feel
It
like
was
there was a little bit,
perfectly,
but I'll still agree that she didn't look as bad as I would have if I was up all night being upset that I hid my
yes.
grandchild from my child.
So now I'm looking up pictures, and yes, she had part of it pulled back, but then she also had like some things going on like in the back of her hair. Like she had them like she kind of had like
Mm.
little kind of like Ray from Star Wars. You don't know. Because she didn't have it all pulled back, but she had kind of like so she had part of it pulled back, but then like part of it was looped under, and then the next one under it was also looped under.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a sideways bow tie, the way that she had originally
Yes,
had it
yes,
tied up.
that's what I'm
Yes,
saying. There were so many different pinks and everything in it that
maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. I say this as I'm letting my hair air dry right now and being like, okay, I have to be able to mist it so that I can straighten it because we talked about this last week with how our hair does not air dry nicely. Okay. So I think that that is it for pipeline. And we've already said about the 411. So we'll get into Hulu headlines.
Alrighty.
All right. So, like we said before, there was no episode on Monday because it was Memorial Day. On Tuesday, Brook Lynn and Dante are on emotional overload. Nina seeks Sonny's help. Lois has some explaining to do. Sasha's anxiety is soothed, and Cody is filled with regret. On Wednesday, Michael's family welcomes him home. Dante and Brook Lynn reach out to Gio. Pace makes an admission. Nina confides in Maxie. On Thursday, Dante confronts Lulu. Michael and Jordan, Michael and Jason debrief. Trina and Kai take their relationship to the next level. Sasha advises Cody. Ned and Brook Lynn have a heart to heart. And then on Friday, Liz and Laura reconnect. Ava counsels Nina. Michael issues a request to Sasha. Curtis has reservations, and Alexis meets with Lucky and Christina. Where do we want to start?
What sticks out in my head is the whole Nina realizing Sasha's baby is Michael's. I felt like that was unrealistic. I'm sorry.
Or
If
see, I
you
thought that was I thought it was a natural conversation just because of how Maxie kind of was like, yeah, it wasn't that big of a deal. Like that was
I felt like it was a natural conversation, and maybe if a week and a half from now, like Nina heard Sasha say something or Michael say something or something like that, that like then
mm,
forwarded that train of thought, that would have made sense. But it was just like too easy. She was like, wait, that was an elaborate story for Sasha to make up. Huh. And then Maxie left and she gets up and goes to the bartender who like absolutely remembers what happened months ago and is like, oh yeah, that's Sasha. Oh no, she wasn't with that guy. Oh yeah, she was definitely with that guy. Blah, blah, blah. And now Nina has the whole thing solved. And it's like you don't necessarily know. You don't know. Sasha could have, like, you're not keeping tabs on Sasha every day. Sasha could have left that day with Michael. They got out to the parking lot and were like, whoa, 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 what are we doing? Like, we can't do this. Come
right,
on. And
right.
Sasha went either to another bar or Sasha went home for the night. And 2 days later, she was at the bar and ended up going home with someone. Like, you don't have her date of conception just because it was around that same time, unless you're keeping her ovulation chart on your phone, Nina. Like, you don't know. So how are you going to pinpoint? I've figured this out. This is definitely the information.
Did Sasha tell Maxie, though, that she got drunk at the Brown Dog and hooked up with a guy the night that she found out about Cody? Because I think that was how Nina connected it, because she said something about, oh, yeah, that was the night that,
It was
or no,
Halloween, the night before
it was
Halloween.
Halloween. Yeah. And sorry, Maxie, you didn't say my birthday.
Right.
That was my birthday. It was Halloween, so I'll just remember that, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
you remember stuff on holidays too, but it's also Maxie's birthday.
Right. I would say it happened on my birthday before I said a holiday. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
But also,
I did. I felt like it still came together. Even if she did have that information, okay, I guess it does pinpoint the night. But for her to jump to all those conclusions right away, I don't know.
especially where it's not as though Maxie doesn't have the backstory of, well, Liz lied about Jake because of safety around Jason's job. So it would make sense that Sasha also, to protect her baby, keep it secret that it's Jason's.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right, exactly.
or to protect Michael because of what he's going through right now with Drew and Willow, to see his ex and Jason together
Right.
could be, you know, upsetting.
Yes.
I like your idea that it should have been she got all that info and then overheard something somewhere and realized, because you're right, there was nothing saying Michael was oh wait, didn't they talk about the fact that that was the night that Michael found out?
Michael had seen the video. Michael had just played the video that came up, the
So they
nanny
kind of
cam.
put that together. Yeah.
I'm not saying that it shouldn't have made her question or start thinking or want to ask questions, but the
Yeah.
fact that she went from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, and it was like, then it's definite. Like, this is the Bible truth, absolutely. And it's like,
Right.
you don't have all those answers. Again, they could have walked out and,
Right. They could have
they
stopped.
actually, what would be more believable would be they walked outside as Jason was walking in, and Jason was like, hey, you guys don't want to do this. Like, here, Michael, I'll take her home. And then they got back to, well, I know she lived at the Quartermains, but they got to wherever they were going to talk it off, walk it off, whatever. And then sparks flew between the two of them and they hooked up, because
Ooh.
Jason would have absolutely not told Michael that he couldn't do something, but he would have interrupted that situation knowing that they were both hurting and upset and whatever.
Yes. Yes. And we kind of saw that this week too, but we'll get into that another time or later in today's podcast. But
I
I
kind of
do
hope
like that.
that's
I
the
wish that
cover
Jason
story.
had been there. I like that though, because you're right. It would have just made sense if Michael had been like, okay, Jason can take you home because you live in the same place.
Right.
So,
I would expect if I was walking out of a bar all over some guy that was not Ryan and you were walking in, that you would be like, hey, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but you've had a rough day. Why don't you go home and I'll take our other friend home? And, if you
yeah,
want to do this tomorrow in the light of day, then you're an adult. You make your own decisions. But right
right.
now, I think both of you are thinking more with your alcohol brains than your real brains and whatever. And yeah, that would be, I don't know, a normal friend thing, a normal Jason thing, a
Yeah,
normal whatever. So I hope that's what Sasha says. Like, yep, I absolutely did leave with Michael, and then Jason stopped us in the parking lot and whatever. But then it might make it sound like Jason took advantage and he would never do that. So,
right. Exactly. Yeah, I just think it's going to be interesting to see how, because she can't force a paternity test. And Nina even said, because she wound up telling Ava, which I was kind of surprised at that. I was surprised at how quickly she told Ava, but she probably just had to get it off her chest. And instead of dumping it all on Maxie, which, Nina even said, I thought of you when she said it. She was like, I think I have to tell Willow about me and Drew. And then my first thought was, because she was going on about how I might lose her. And I'm thinking, if you really care about Willow having her kids back, you are willing to sacrifice yourself
yep.
for that. If that is truly your motive, is you want Willow to have her kids back and that is your goal,
I mean, it's kind
you
of
tell the
like
truth.
what Carly said to her last week, not agreeing with the whole brawl and all that stuff. But whenever Nina said, "Oh, I'm scared of losing Willow again," Carly said, "That's part of being a mom. You have to
Right,
show them tough love sometimes and understand that you may make them angry and they pull away from you, but hopefully they find their way back to you and you can work things out. But at the end of the day, it's the risk that you have to take because you still want better for your kids than living in this fantasy and not being honest with them." So
right,
yeah, again, Nina, I'm sure Willow is going to be mad. I'm sure Willow's going to say, "Well, we're all saying, why didn't you tell me this in the beginning? When I told you that I first kissed him and hadn't hooked up with him yet, why would you not have disclosed this information? Because it could have stopped a lot of heartache and a lot of mistakes."
right,
So,
right,
kind of like Sasha said this week to Michael, she was like, "I feel guilty. Maybe if I would have told you that I saw them kissing, because fireworks make people do things that they wouldn't normally do, that you would have said something, done something, and your relationship would have turned out different." And I liked the fact that he was like not accepting that at all, because that would have meant that they didn't end up hooking up and she wouldn't be pregnant then. So,
right. But also we kind of saw this with Lois too, is you can't predict that. I mean, I understand where Sasha's coming from, that perhaps she could have saved everyone heartache, in the long run. And
right.
yeah, she probably wouldn't be pregnant because that probably would not have happened. But Willow could have also chosen to stay with Drew.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know, it might have happened sooner, rather than, but you and Willow could have gotten through it. And it's like, yeah, at that point though, when that happened, she was already gone.
Right. Or it could have caused a big fight sooner where she wouldn't have even been trying to hide it and we would have separated 4 months
Right,
earlier or whatever.
right,
Yeah. You can't rewrite history. You don't know how things would have turned out. But um I did like that Michael didn't even entertain that, because I thought if he even starts to say, not that he would blame her, but if he even starts to say something that makes it sound like he wishes that was the way that it went, she is going to internalize that and hold it against him later and be like, "You wished that our baby didn't even happen because you said that you wished you and Willow had stayed together."
right.
And that would just be another reason for her to keep him out. And it seems like from their interactions this week that she might change her mind about that.
I did like that Nina was like, I don't want to hurt Sasha. I love her too. So do you think she's going to? Because she also said that if she tells, it could be used in a way that Willow would then get primary custody or full custody, and then she would stay with Drew.
Yes, I did like that it's going to be Ava, especially, that calls her out and is like, "Are you saying that you're going to keep this information so that she loses custody of the kids to get away from Drew?" And I feel like, yeah,
Or Nina might just sacrifice herself
yeah.
and leave the paternity thing alone or do that first. And then, I mean, she's going to
I would like her
hit her with the phone
to,
too and be like, by the way, slept with Drew, and also Sasha's baby is Michael's. So get away from Drew and get those kids.
I would like to see her do the selfless thing and tell her about Drew so that then she can go to Sasha and have a conversation with Sasha about, "I know I'm not your biological mother, but we have such a relationship that I want to protect you the way that a mother should. And I am trying to protect like what I view as both my girls." And then eventually Willow and Sasha will be able to repair their relationship also.
I don't know.
I really hope whatever it is that she's going to do, that she does it honestly. I don't want her to tell about the baby and then have this like heated conversation with Drew where Willow's not there and she yells at Drew about, "Well, you just don't want her to know that we were sleeping together and Willow over here," or something like that, or vice versa. Like, just be honest, tell what you know. Let's not have it be another overheard conversation.
Right. Because Michael got emergency custody of the kids
He
and
did.
Willow showed up, and she's kind of already made her decision.
Yeah,
She's choosing Drew.
she
And
is.
Michael
She's
said,
interesting.
if she wants to see the kids, she'll leave Drew.
Hmm.
And because Wiley, every time he spoke to Wiley, he would ask, when are you coming back? And when are Amelia and I going home?
Yep.
And Willow had no idea. And she's putting she's putting Drew before the kids. And she needs to also cut off contact.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you really don't want to see me happy. He's like, this has nothing to do with your happiness. This has to do with the kids.
Exactly. And then she goes back out to the car and says all that same stuff to Drew of what Michael said. And I will say that Drew had a point. You don't know, unless you get it in writing, you don't know that Michael's going to follow through. He could just keep making demand after demand after demand that you have to follow, or else he's not going to give you the kids. And so I don't agree with negotiating before you go to court in such an extreme manner, because you don't know that you're losing them. But the second that she said, this isn't the Michael that I know, he's not the same man, and took off her wedding rings, and Drew was like, oh, we're not giving this one back. How did she not see him for who he really is? Like, that is not yours. This is not about you being entitled to anything. This is not even about the ring going back to Michael per se. It's about going back to the Quartermain family, who has been, other than Tracy trying to interfere, nothing but nice to her.
Right. Well, when Drew was having that little bit of reasoning with her, though, he was like, you'll be all alone. What if he decides to take the kids anyway? You'll wind up being all alone. And that's how he got her.
Yeah.
Was, you won't have anyone. You can't let us tear us apart. Okay. But back to the rings. She took them off, and she wasn't going to take them off until the divorce was final, because she didn't want to confuse the kids.
Right.
She is living in a house and sleeping with their uncle,
right,
and going on trips with him.
Yeah.
You thought your ring is what was confusing them?
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you have a separate bedroom at Drew's house and you're just like sneaking around. You tuck the kids in and then go to bed in the same bed as Drew. Wiley is old enough to hopefully not understand what might be occurring in that bed, but understand that that's what mommies and daddies do together, or what people in relationships do. You only share a bed with someone that is your significant other. Yeah, you're not. That's funny. Whenever we slept at Grandma Nina's house, you didn't sleep in bed with her. Like, come on.
Right. And we talked about this when they even got the rooms, because it was like, okay, is Wiley going to say, well, where's your room, mommy?
Right. But yeah,
but no, you're absolutely right. Like how she didn't see who he is when he was saying, because she even said that's Lila's ring.
Right, exactly. It's not like, okay, Michael has money, whatever ring he bought her could be significant. It's laid out in the law. An engagement ring is a gift. You don't have to give it back. So, okay, sure, keep the ring just to be a jerk, to be like, you aren't going to get this back. Although people overvalue the resale value of rings, because even if you give it back, they aren't selling it for what they paid for it. They're losing out, trust me. So, I would get all of that, but it's a family thing.
I could almost see and this was never going to be the case because Michael gave her Lila's ring, but if it was Monica's ring, I feel like then Drew would at least have some reason to want it and to take it, because he'd be, putting the jab right to her. But he didn't know Lila. He's jabbing the entire Quartermain family by taking it.
Right.
But he would be sticking it to Monica for cutting him out.
Right.
So I hated everything about that.
Yeah, it absolutely shouldn't go back to Drew.
And she looks like she's under his spell.
Mm-hmm.
Which is then somebody had written in, like, what if it's Shiloh? Like, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely something that you have to wonder whenever you're hearing him talk. Like you said, the way he's manipulating her of, you'll be all alone. You'll have no one. Is this really what you want to do? Because then you won't have your kids or any man that you're with, blah, blah, blah. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I did love Mac, though, whenever they came running into the police station. They're like, we need to report a kidnapping. And he's like, wait, what? They're with Michael? Okay, that's not a kidnapping. What are you talking about?
Yep.
And then
they were like,
being all
it was Jason took Amelia.
Yes.
And took her to Carly's. And Mac was like, what? But that's her grandma, And then they said something about Michael, and Mac he didn't even go to, well, that's his father. He's like, wait, Michael's back? That's great. And then, wait, what? And he's like, so what you're telling me is children are with their father.
Mm-hmm.
But then he did go to the house to check on them and came in. And I believe the first thing he did say was, Michael, I'm glad to see that you're okay.
He did. That was a very confusing line of events, though. We saw Mac show up, but we never saw Mac leave.
We didn't see him leave, but then he came back to the precinct and said,
We
and I
did, but I was waiting. Like, I rewound because I was like, was I distracted? Because I didn't get to hear their answer of it's not kidnapping. At the end of the day, unless there's a document somewhere that we had not
right,
seen, it's not kidnapping because until you have that hearing next week, both of you are equally entitled to those children. He could
right,
have yelled at Jason for being the one to pick Amelia up without prior consent and conversation. But at the end of the day, right now, no one's done anything in that
right.
moment. No one's done anything wrong. The kids are with their father and they're allowed to be there just as much as they were with Willow. But yeah, like you never saw anyone say, well, here's the court order, here's the emergency, whatever. And so I was like, what did I miss? And then you see him
Yeah,
back at the precinct and Drew being all cocky, like, do I need to go over your head? Blah, 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 blah.
seriously.
You're not following the law correctly. And Mac's like, I loved how like undisturbed Mac was by it. He's like, no, here's a piece of paper. Now you'll see there's nothing I can do. Like, you don't need to threaten me, jerk. But he didn't even dignify it with that answer or any type of like, oh, I'm getting upset or concerned response. It was just like, you're absurd. Here's a piece of paper.
And there's no one over Mac's head that likes Drew.
Right, right.
And Anna would have said the same thing. So the kids are with their father. And I think that Mac partially, I mean, I think he just went to appease them. And also probably just to confirm that Michael did in fact was there and was okay. Because I could see if the kids might be in danger, if Michael was not okay but was there. But at the same time, if he's making sure that those children are being taken care of while in his care, that doesn't
Right.
matter. But I really do. I think he just went over and was like, hey, Michael, you're good. And I don't remember Michael and Mac being like super tight, but I just felt like he was actually just more into, hey, Michael's back,
Right,
than,
right. It's good news to hear that someone that went through the horrible ordeal that Michael did is feeling better and is back home. And here you
yeah.
go. And just no one
And,
likes Drew.
and he even kind of had that attitude. He's like, so I got a reporting of a kidnapping.
Right, exactly. Can you just explain it to me real quick so everyone can get back to real life? Because I know this is a ridiculous claim by Drew, more than Willow, even.
Yeah. Well, and Willow was like, but I tried to talk to them. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's going to be really, I don't know. I'm really curious
I
how this is all going to play out.
hope that Carly has a ring cam that was on at the moment because another thing, she came to the door. She shouldn't have gone there. Like she was already told that he had the court order. It was all on the up and up. But she's like, please, can I have them back? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, we have our hearing next week. I'm not dealing with this. And then she's like, well, can't I just come in and like tuck them in? Blah, blah. And he's like, they're already asleep. And she's like, well, let me just come give them a kiss. Blah, blah. Like, no, again, you're not worried about what's best for your kids because as a mother, it's frustrating. Trust me, there's been times, like I think any single mom has dealt with, I don't really want the kids with their dad right now. There's something going on and I'd like to keep them. But you don't show that to your kids. You would not wake them up in the middle of the night to take them back to your
No.
house when they're excited and happy to be at daddy's house and there isn't any threats going on. There isn't anything bad going on. You
Yep.
wouldn't rush in and kiss them knowing that you might wake them up for your own selfish need of, oh, whatever. You know that Michael's not hurting them. You know that they're in nice, snuggly, warm beds. Like, there's no reason for concern. You would not ask any of those questions if you were actually putting the kids first. You would say,
Right.
can I please come get them tomorrow morning? Sure. That would be
Right.
a reasonable question. But
Can I
right
bring
there,
donuts and we have breakfast together?
exactly, exactly. I just need to see them. Can we, do something together? Whatever. So I wish that Michael, again, could take that into the court and be like, you really want to see where her mind is? She's not thinking of the kids. She's the one who's viewing them as like they're her belonging and she wants them back.
Yep.
No. It's so frustrating because Willow, I don't know that I ever loved her, but she was a good mom. Like you could see her love for her kids and that she put them first. And now it is just like they're another possession, like the darn rings.
I loved her. When she was with Chase, I had a hard time dealing with the Michael thing, but then eventually dealt with it. But this whole Drew thing, I mean, okay, so I'm excited for the actress.
Right.
You know, we're seeing a whole different side of her, and she's not as saccharine as we thought she was, but this is just absolutely ridiculous. And this is going to sound horrible, but I would actually like to see a woman not get the kids just because she's a woman.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and I mean, I do think that they're stretching it a lot with not being able, with her possibly losing the kids. Like,
Right. It seems absurd that it's like all or nothing because unless you are a really horrible person, the courts are all about keeping families united as much as possible. So
and they
even if
don't get involved in romantic relationships of the or of the parents, as long as
that person's not hurting the kids. Yes.
right.
Yes.
I mean, I could understand if, I mean, Drew's a jerk. There is no denying it. Even this whole Special K thing. Do they still call it Special K? Didn't we grow up and they were calling it Special K?
I don't think I realized that was the same thing.
JD, do you even know what I'm asking? What? No, that was special. It's not the cereal. Talk about ketamine.
Oh my God. That's funny.
It's not the cereal, it's the drug. Special K drug. Ketamine. Look at me knowing street names.
Wow.
Anyway, or not even street names, because I mean, Carly even mentioned it's a recreational drug. I did not realize that it's as prevalent. I don't know. Listen, we had the DARE program.
We did.
Everything's and again, I don't really care to know very much about it, but if it's a more accepted, I know that it killed Matthew Perry, but that was because the doctor overdid it intentionally, and that was wrong. But that was not the same thing. Like you could, yeah, I'm going off on a tangent and I don't know where I'm going.
Okay, so talking about trash TV, as far as our point of reference, have you watched that show, The Secret Life of Mormon Wives?
No.
Okay, so I have watched it. My son's girlfriend also watches it, so it's like our trash TV talk or whatever. So there was an episode a few weeks ago, and I just looked it up to make sure that I knew what I was talking about, so that it didn't sound dumb. But this is an Us Weekly magazine article. Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. Demi Engelman calls ketamine biggest tool to strengthen her marriage. The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives star Demi Engelman has a surprising secret to keeping her marriage to Brett Engelman spicy: ketamine. Demi, 30, told Nick Vial during the Wednesday, September 11th episode of the Vial Files podcast, "It has been the biggest tool that I've used to strengthen my relationship. It's next level." She added, "Everyone I talk to that's like, we're kind of struggling and things are getting a little bit dull. Go do ketamine with your spouse." Demi further stresses that she and her husband do not pop Special K and get therapy administered by a doctor through an IV. So you can go get IV ketamine treatments.
Well, that's what Matthew Perry was getting.
Ketamine is a dissociative anesthetic that is often used as a treatment for depression or pain management. It's microdosing, she said. It's the safest form of anesthesia. They use it on kids, small animals to put them down, and it takes you out of your conscious state and you're able to really diminish your pride and let down your walls and be able to speak heart to heart. Like I never had deeper conversations in my entire life. So that's how they talk through their stuff, is they both get a ketamine treatment and then they're totally honest.
But it's being monitored.
Yes. Yes.
So it's okay.
But I didn't realize like that was a thing. And whenever I saw it on the show, I was like, that's what Drew did. But I never would have called it Special K because I wouldn't have made that connection because I'm not as street smart as you are.
What can I say?
Let me know if you and JD go do some ketamine therapy together.
Nope. Just not for me.
I would be scared to do it with someone. If it really makes you be that honest, I would be like, I don't know that there's anyone I want to be that honest with. If it's any type of reaction, I know Drew's was not a microdose, but if it was any type of reaction.
Yes, it was, because remember, that's how Portia prescribed it.
Oh, yeah, she did it based on his weight.
Based on his weight, and so she did microdose him.
Well, then
Interesting.
someone should be bringing that up to Willow. Hey, Willow, have you watched The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? um, Ketamine makes you honest and act without your walls up, and this is who Drew really is.
There you go. There you go. Kevin can tell her.
There you go. We haven't seen Kevin in forever, but Kevin can
I
be like,
know.
yes, he was on the right
Yep.
dosage, and this was his natural behavior. What does that tell you about this man?
Okay. Interesting.
I love that JD thought we were talking about cereal, though.
Me too. All right, what's next? Where can we go from there? I guess we could just real quick wrap up Michael because he and Sasha had a conversation. It's almost like Sasha's having, I mean, for Sasha and Liz friends, because I feel like she's maybe read a book that Liz might have written on how to torture the guy that you don't want to be the father of your child, but also keep him involved, but don't let him be involved.
Yeah.
Oh, the baby's kicking. Here, feel it.
Right.
And then Sasha and Jason talked about them hiding the paternity and how she's worried that it's going to be brought up on stage. Oh, that was the other thing. Michael asked if she could watch the kids while they go to court. And she's like, funny you mentioned that. I'll be there.
I'll be at court. Yeah. I still think they need to do a better job of remembering not to talk in the kitchen because they had that conversation and then like 10 people showed up after that. Cody came in a few minutes later. It felt like was Brooke and Lois. And I'm like, okay, you're on the Quartermain premises. And speaking of security cameras, I would assume that there's security cameras off of that entrance into the house that would pick up conversations. And they could go outside a lot and have conversations right there.
I would think so as well, especially since, so I mean, I have this conversation with my buyers. We need to not be having conversations on the property about negotiating any details. If you hate anything in the house, do not say it.
Right.
Because there have been sellers that have overheard people bashing their house and then they put an offer in and they're like, no thanks.
Yeah.
So
you should always assume there's a camera. If you're not
always
in your own house, always assume there's a camera.
Yes.
So, yeah, I was just waiting for Nina to be walking up to confront Sasha and her overhear them and me be like, can we stop? Again, I'm tired of people overhearing other people's conversations.
Well, I guess that could just take us right into Lulu and Dante. And
he was harsh. I kind of thought for a minute that he was going to take the other stance and be like, thank you for trying to get the information to me, and that this was going to be how they got them closer together. I think I said that a couple weeks ago whenever we were talking about it. And instead, he just like flipped out and told her she needed to mind her business. And it was now Gio that was being hurt by all of this. And he'd be back the next day to tell their son about his half brother. She better not get involved and whatever.
I did like that. And he was from the start. He's like, I'm not going in circles with you. Be honest right now. And then she's like, well, I didn't tell Gio, but I did confront Lois. And I mean, she did do this because of Brook Lynn, and she lied about that.
Right.
And he's calling her out on it. And he's like, basically, if it had been anyone else, she probably wouldn't have been so invested in it, you know? And then she thinks, like you said, he thinks that she thinks she could get him back by doing this. And she's like, I never had that. Didn't she seriously say that? She said something about...
I think that she said it in the opposite way of not saying that this was going to get him back to be with her, but that if she didn't make sure that the information got out there and he knew that she knew that it would ruin their chance of ever getting back together.
Okay. So that's what I'm remembering is because I'm like, I know that this came up in context of them getting back together.
I think it was with Carly. She was like, he would never forgive me if he knew that I knew this, and then we wouldn't get together.
And then even beyond, stay out of this, whatever, he said, we will not be friends. We will
they like,
but you need to stay out of my life and you need to stay away from Gio. And she's done enough damage. And then at some point in all this, she mentions that Carly knew. He's like, who did you not tell other than us?
Right. The whole town does indeed know.
I did like that when she said, I kept thinking of all the time that we missed out on Charlotte. He's like, so I get that, but you're wrong. Like,
Yeah.
this is not the same thing.
I wish that he
I
would have given her a little more time to explain how she figured out that it was Gio, though, because I'm not trying to defend Lulu because this was all crazy, but at the same time, she I'm not saying that she wouldn't have, but she didn't in the beginning start digging to find Gio because she'd even said that. And Carly was like, no, because if you find the kid, you're going to want to tell him for sure. Do not go look for that. It was the reaction of Lois. It was just the fact that they happened to mention that he was born in California and those kind of things that made her realize, wait, I need to look a little bit further. I do think that this is Gio. And that is like a whole next level cray.
Yeah.
Not that I think it would make a huge difference, but I don't want Dante later coming back and saying, you admitted that you went and looked for him, blah, 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 because she didn't. That's not exactly how it went down.
Well, and then to kind of go off a little bit, when Cody was talking to Sasha, because Sasha hadn't seen everything, and when Cody was talking to Sasha, and he's like, I'm really regretting I didn't think of Gio's side. And this is how we know that Lulu is a horrible journalist, because she didn't look at both sides. She didn't
Right.
even consider at any point this could be no matter. And Carly told her, and so many people told her, this could be horrible for Gio.
Right.
And she's like, but it won't be because Brook Lynn and Dante love him. And it's like, how would you feel if you found out that Luke wasn't your dad and that
Yeah.
Scott Baldwin really was?
Right.
And he feels guilty, and he's like, I thought about it, and I wasn't raised by good people, so that really bothered me that I was lied to about who my parents were. Meanwhile, Gio had an amazing relationship with his parents, and Lulu just kept trying to, oh, no, I'm sorry. Cody said this all to Lulu.
Mm-hmm.
That's when he gave her the beer. I love that he did not leave the beer with her. He's like, no, you get one beer and then we're done. I'm taking the rest with me. And like Lulu just kept trying to justify and was like, but Camilla's love doesn't go away. It's real. And he's like, but don't you think Gio is going to think it does?
Mm-hmm.
And we saw that in a whole later part that we'll get to, I'm sure, pretty soon. But and yeah, now and that was the thing is Lulu was like, but now he has the entire Quartermain family that loves him. And Cody's like, you're not understanding this. The person he thought was his mother, who he had that bond with,
Yep.
just went away. And he can't even talk to her about it because of Lulu. And it was
Right.
at the same time as probably when Gio was having that conversation at the Quartermain mansion that he got his bags and he was leaving. And then Tracy comes home ranting and raving about the fact that she was just in jail and blah, blah, blah. And then Gio says to her, you know how you're always like to throw in my face that I'm not family, so blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I kind of do,
Right.
And then he tells her, well, the joke's on you and
Yeah.
Tracy is killing me.
Yeah. I love
that made me cry when she
Aw.
got the look and she's like, it's you. And then she even told him, I only just found out. And she told Ned later that she had just started looking for it. But she, grabbed him and she's like, you can't leave. And then she grabbed him and brought him into the living room and was like, this is your great grandparent. She's like, or she said something about, I have a grandson and a granddaughter. And now I have a great grandson. And this is your great great grandparents, Edward and Lila, and this brooch belonged to Lila, and and she told him none of this is your fault.
Right.
And did she tell him your mother loved you more than anything and that doesn't go away? And he's like, but I lost my mom. It was a lie, and now he's stuck with a family of liars.
Yeah, something along those lines. Because she was trying to portray all of the good. Like she said, everything in this house is yours.
Yes.
And
Yes.
went on with that. And he was like, yeah, but I lost the memory of the person who mattered most or whatever. But I loved the conversations after he left that then happened between Brook Lynn and her dad and
Yes.
well, and Olivia
was with Dante first, though. Brook Lynn had to tell Dante, and he handled that so well because he kindly asked her, as kindly as he could, why didn't you tell me? And she swears, I didn't know about Gio until tonight. And she thought that it was going to be cruel to tell him that she was pregnant if she was just giving the baby up anyway. And she
Right.
reminds him, and I think that they did. He's like, but I would have wanted to be there. I would have wanted to help. And she's like, you say that now as a dad, but
Right. Think back to when you were a teenager.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, um, I think they were at the nurse's ball, and then they came home because Tracy had texted her saying,
Yes.
I'm at,
Yeah,
oh,
because they
because
had
Lois was standing beside, but he came and he found it was Brook Lynn and Lois. And Tracy had texted and said, he's at the house. And she's like, okay, we're going. And Lois was like, I'll come too. And she's like, oh, heck no, you're not.
right, because they had Gio talking to Tracy at the house at the same time that everyone was still just leaving the nurses' ball. So you had the
Yep.
confrontation of Lois with Brooklyn and then Lois with Sonny, who was awesome, and
Yes.
then her with Olivia that had the conversation that we said that they would have. Olivia started being a jerk and she was like, wait a second, you can't say this to me. And Olivia still justified it as the fact that Sonny was dangerous and that was what made it different or whatever. But when she was talking to Brook Lynn, she was amazing. So I liked seeing that change.
Olivia wasn't wrong, though. And that's the thing is that it was completely different. She should have absolutely told her at some point because like Olivia later said to Tracy, I held him. How did I not know that he was my grandson? And then Tracy's like, you weren't psychic. And then Olivia looks at her and she's like, well, back then
that,
you weren't.
that was great.
But yeah, I thought that Brook Lynn yelling at Lois about how, and she's absolutely right. You know, she promised her that this was going to be a closed adoption, and she broke every single promise. And because that was the thing is that Lois tried to say, but I needed to keep the promise that your baby would go to a loving home. And how could I keep that promise if I didn't know who the parents were?
Right.
And Camilla wanted a baby so badly. It just worked out perfectly. And and then Sonny asked, he was like, why didn't you tell me? And is that why you asked me to be so involved with Gio? And she's like, yeah, him, I was trying to get you to have some kind of a relationship with him, even though you didn't know who he was. However, and this goes to the Olivia thing. Lois said, we didn't know that Dante was your son. Didn't Lois know the entire time?
I thought so.
I thought so too, because I thought that okay, and Olivia kind of did say, yeah, and look at how well that turned out. Sonny shot him because I
Right.
didn't tell them.
Yep, that was what she said to Brooklyn, because Brooklyn was like, you must hate me, blah, blah, blah. And Olivia was like, of all the people in this situation, I understand what you were going through the most. We made different choices, but we were both still teenagers trying to decide what to do with this major decision. And you didn't owe me anything. And I loved that.
Well, and Lois talked about how Olivia lost her life. She went from being the life of the party, and then she became just a tired single mom. And Olivia was like, I sacrificed nothing. And I, as a very young single mom, she was like, I didn't miss doing that stuff. And that's, people ask me sometimes, I'm sure they ask you too. And I'm just like, I didn't.
You can't compare partying with raising a child. Like there's no competition there. Again, planning a perfect life, of course no one would say, oh, it's wonderful to get pregnant in high school or right after high school. But at the same time, yeah, those two things don't compare. They're completely different. And of course you sacrifice, but you sacrifice for your kids no matter if you're 17 or 37, because that's what you do when you have kids.
And unfortunately, there are parents of any age that prioritize partying at any age.
Exactly.
So, and we found out that Camilla was Gloria's idea, though.
Yeah.
But a lot of this is out of order, we know, but it still all goes together.
It does all go together, and it's just kind of what sticks in your head.
Oh, and then when Chase came home and was just like, is it really Gio? And Dante realizes that he knew. And he's like, why didn't you tell me, man? He's like, that's my wife. That's
right. And I didn't know it was Gio. I think that that's the other missing piece is no matter how you look at it, at the end of the day, you didn't know if that child knew that he or she, because again, in the beginning, didn't even know if it was a boy, if that child knew that they were adopted or not. No matter who it was, Gio or some kid you have no idea, you weren't going to go blow up their life with that information if they had no idea that they were adopted. It was their choice to come look for their birth parents if that's what they wanted.
Right. And then Tracy walked in and was thankful that Chase was there to be for Brook Lynn, and Dante was hurt and angry, and it's justified. And Dante's like, hi, I'm still here.
Right.
And then Tracy told Dante that he needs to redirect his anger towards Lois. And that's before he went to go see Lulu, because he kind of put those two things together. And Brook Lynn realized who it was and I don't think we saw her tell him that it was Lulu, but I think that we are to assume that she didn't, because that's why when he went, he probably didn't even actually have to say it.
Right.
But, and I like how Tracy said to Olivia, I guess congratulations are in order. You have a grandson.
Mm-hmm.
Or, no, it was my son, and you and my son are grandparents. And she got her a drink. And
I did like that they did a really good job of writing Tracy as Tracy, because she was very kind and compassionate, and you could see that she was trying to reflect how they were feeling and be there for them. But at the same time, she was authentic Tracy, because she was like, now I have a direct bloodline with Sonny, and I didn't ever want to have that. What am I going to do? And then whenever she was talking to Ned and they like talked through everything at the end, she was like, you could be a better son though, because you left me to rot in prison. And he was like, oh my God, give me a break. You were not rotting in prison. The attorneys had it handled. You were out in a matter of hours. I called the station. Everything was fine. Like, you were over dramatizing this.
And Ned at Lois, and we talked about this last week. She wasn't entirely wrong, because she's like, are you telling me that the Quartermains would not have used her as an asset back then, or used the baby back then? And he couldn't say no.
Right.
But then he came home and
I think that
talked to Brook Lynn. That was so good.
It was. And I think that he was sincere in, if Brook Lynn really didn't want the whole world to know, that he wouldn't have told the rest of the family, that he could have separated being a dad from being a Quartermain. Now, if she would have wanted to keep the baby, or she would have wanted Quartermain support, absolutely, the whole family would have been in on it, and they would have tried to have their say like they do in everything. But at the end of the day, the bottom line, he is Brook Lynn's dad, and that's what he would have been there for her. And that Brook Lynn just kept apologizing, and he was like, as long as you got what you needed, that's what matters. Like, I'm glad that your mom was able to help you through. I just hope that you could have told me. So those were sweet.
I mean, he created Eddie Main and tried to keep that from the family as much as possible. He definitely would have kept that for his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I thought it was, I know that we hate the storyline, but what we're getting out of it is...
Right. We knew it was going to have to come out eventually. And I like the way that they're writing the majority of the characters' reactions, because, I mean, what else could you say? I don't want Dante and Lulu back together, but I didn't like that Dante was quite so harsh with her to the extreme that they were.
Oh, I did. Because it's drawing the line. He's not letting there be an opening for her to manipulate. If he chooses to lessen it, and he's probably going to, but it's the same thing as Michael with going for full custody. It's no, you have proven that we can't even be friends. You can't even be a little bit in my life without stuff like this happening. So, and then I did like when Lulu said something to him, and he's like, about Brook Lynn, he's like, that is for me to handle.
Yes, I did like the line of, I don't want to hear anything about Brook Lynn. I will decide what my feelings towards Brook Lynn are. But the fact that he kept saying that she was only doing this to prove that Brook Lynn was a bad person, and that, she was better than Brook Lynn, I don't think that really was the entire reason for it. I do think that she had some of those feelings that she said of, I thought about the lost time with Charlotte. I thought about what a good dad you are. And I thought you would want to know.
Again, never thought about Gio. And Gio's a kid, it's...
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But in the beginning, and not that obviously any kid would have been the same age as Gio because it's that time period. But in the beginning, she didn't know that it was Gio.
Right.
And that does make a difference. Like, as much as you can go through it and figure out that the kid is the same age, it's a difference between if you know it or if it's an abstract person out there.
Yeah. I did like how Gio yelled at Dante and Brook Lynn, and I like how they are, well, she defended Dante right off the bat and said he did not even know.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what was your deal? And Tracy told, and then after she didn't yell back at him. She begged him not to leave. And Tracy was like, you have to let him go. And then Emma left with him and they went to a cabin. And well, first
they went to the footbridge.
Yes. And Emma talked about how important it is to her mom and how she goes there. I love that Emma goes there when she needs to be alone and think.
Yes.
But she was like, why did you smash your violin? And he's like, that was the biggest lie of all. I thought that I got my talent from my mom and it made me feel closer to her. And, I was always thinking of her when I was playing. And he says, I always wondered what my father thought of me. And now I know he hates me.
Yeah.
But I like how Emma's handling this too, because she called Anna and told them where they were. And Anna called Brook Lynn and Brook Lynn was she was like, okay, thank you for letting me know. I'm glad that he's safe. And then that's when Lois walked in with the inexplicable good hair. And I mean, I love how much, I don't know, Amanda Satin is killing it right now.
Yes.
I mean, she's having panic attacks. She's telling Lois to leave her alone. I mean, and she's not wrong. Lois completely changed everything that she thought she knew.
Yeah.
And she said too, like, I babysat for you let me go babysit Gio when she was like a kid. So, but then Gloria showed up and said if she has something to say, she has to say it to her and not Lois.
Yes. I like the way that they're doing the little realizations of like Brook Lynn realizing that she babysat and Olivia realizing that she held him and stuff. I hope they keep doing that over the next few weeks because I feel like that's how real life would unfold, is just those little insignificant things popping into your head of like, I didn't realize when I shared my favorite movie with him that I was sharing it with my son. I didn't realize that when I took him to the park and pushed him on the swing that I was doing that with my grandson. Like, these moments would have held a different level of importance had I known who he was, to just kind of like show her whole processing. If by the end of next week it's like, oh, this is how it is and everything just needs to move forward from here, I'm going to be mad because that would not be how it would go at all.
Well, and I like that Emma's talking to Gio and she's like, but that was your mom. Like, her love for you was 100% real. So you need to not think that that was a lie because it wasn't. How you came to be might have. And he's like, she was always, now you get your looks from my side of the family, so she wasn't wrong.
Right.
But I like how they're having Emma be there. And he said, you're the only person I can trust.
Yeah. And I like that it didn't turn into a sex thing between the two of them.
Yeah.
There was a few times that the way that she was like looking at him and then they had the wind blowing her hair on the footbridge, that I was like, if he ends up looking down at her and they start kissing and this turns into a whole sex thing, I'm going to be so mad, because not saying they can't end up together, but this is not the appropriate time for that.
No, they were just remembering that weather happens.
Yeah.
So I think that that's really it for all of that.
Yeah.
And then we could just do the sex thing and go to Kai and Trina, and how he says that he understands how Gio feels, not finding out the whole thing that he's adopted, but being blindsided by something significantly just changing your life. And Trina must also, because of Spencer. And she's like, yeah, I've been thinking about him a lot. Nowhere did she say, yeah. And also, I randomly found out but Curtis is not, the man that raised me as my father was not biologically my father.
Right, exactly. I'm sorry, Kai. I'm not saying that your issues of seeing that your life may be different than you ever thought it was going to be isn't a major thing, but it is not the same. Her finding out that Taggart was not her dad is the same or close enough.
But it was never, she didn't mention it. He said, it's like you losing Spencer. And she's like, yeah, I've been thinking of him a lot. But also, I actually understand exactly what Gio's going through because I found out.
Right.
And
right. And
how
Joss had
that
just
didn't
reminded her of that at the nurses' ball. It's like, even if she hadn't drawn that parallel, which I don't know how she wouldn't have, but even if she hadn't, Joss just told you a few hours ago. That's not what pops into your head whenever
right,
he says it to you.
right. And so it's not like they're just trying to erase it and
Right.
ignore that storyline ever happened. Because I mean, they do that sometimes, but
Yeah. No, they brought it up. That should have been her reference point, not losing Spencer.
yeah,
Because I'm sorry, not that it happens at that young of an age, but everyone has to deal with death at some point in time. Not everyone has to deal with, oh, my parents aren't actually my parents. Like, that's the next level.
yes, that is something a small percentage of people deal with.
Yeah.
Smaller percentage of people. And then I guess we could just say real quick that Carly went and asked Curtis if he could start at least releasing some anti-Drew stuff. And he's like, no, he's like, I don't get involved in this. This is not, even if it helps Michael. But I did like, he said, I understand that Michael needs to catch up with family. So just tell him I said hi and I'm here
Yes.
when he wants
Yes. And then he went back
to talk to me.
to Portia and was like, I couldn't even offer any type of support because of your crap. And how did all of this leak? And that's whenever she realizes, oh, Brad could have gone. But then she says Brad wouldn't have done that because the information looks like he's the one that stole the ketamine. So he wouldn't do that to himself. Well, you underestimate Drew because you should know that $1 million, I don't care if I'm a criminal, as long as I'm not going to have to serve some jail time because I have $1
Yep.
million.
Yep. And he probably has some way of throwing her under the bus for it. That he's not going to tell her,
Right,
oh, you're
exactly.
wrong. I can prove that you did it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then Rick brought Liz dragonberry juice and a yogurt parfait from Perks. And Laura shows up and she's like, the only reason I just came in is because I wasn't sure if you could get to the door. She's like, I'm so sorry. And she offered to leave. And then she didn't. And she's like, don't you think it's funny how Rick shows up anytime Lucky's not here? And Liz is like, are you saying that you think Rick's watching my house? And she's like, are you saying that it's beyond his capabilities? And that question was never answered. We cut to the next scene.
They like both laughed and were like, no.
Yeah. But we've talked about this before. We talked about it when Lucky was gone and everything. Laura and Liz's relationship is just absolutely perfect.
I love it.
And I love how honest she can be because Laura told Liz, Lucky probably doesn't like him because he sees him as a threat. And then Laura was like, oh, I'm sorry, did I overstep or whatever? And she's like, no, she's like, it's just, Lucky's great at rescuing me, but he's not good at the day-to-day stuff.
Mhm.
And I saw how much you and Luke loved each other, but you didn't work out. So what makes me think it could with Lucky? And Laura didn't dismiss that, but also was like, yeah, but you two are you two.
Right,
You're not me and Luke.
right.
So
And she said she can tell that Lucky has been in love with her forever. Like that
no.
the love that he never got over. And I was like, yes, yes, that's true.
He probably will be better at the day-to-day because but the thing is too, is that he hasn't really had those conversations with Liz about how he is reflecting on the fact that, man, I messed up.
Right. I think that there's a difference, not that it's an excuse, but Luke and Laura got together when she was still really young. He was relatively young. And they went straight to being in a family life and being on the run and doing those things, and Luke having to worry about taking care of her. And so I'm sure that that does kind of get exhausting. Again, not an excuse that then their relationship didn't work out, but there was a lot of pressure there where Lucky's on the other side and he can be like, I did all the stuff on my own and I didn't like it. Like, I miss you. I want to be with you.
Right.
I want to have all that. So I've already lived the adventureful life by myself and I want to settle down as a family with no regrets now instead of always wondering kind of what if. Like, they were flip-flopped.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right. But while they were having that conversation, Alexis was talking to Lucky and Christina, and I love how Lucky's just sitting there letting Christina talk, and he's doing some facial.
Yes.
And then it was, well, how do they know that you were there? And Lucky's like, so there were two police officers, and I mean, he here's everyone that I clocked. And he's like, there's the body cam. So Christina's probably on. And Christina's like, yeah. So I also told Dante I was there.
Right, exactly. The police absolutely know. And Alexis is like, well, how do you know that? And she's like, well, I told Dante. Okay, so way too many people know. We're not going to be able to cover this. And then Laura ends up going to Alexis and saying she's been watching Ace's funds and they are significantly dwindling down and she wants to know what's up.
Yep.
So, yeah, this is going to have to come out like yesterday.
And then when Lucky came home, he told Liz that he was talking to an attorney about his accident. And so part of me was like, he's not lying. Right now, he is not lying. So he can say that. And then he said, I know a lot more about your accident than I've told you.
Yep.
He's going to tell her.
Yeah.
And I think that it's going to be, well, I wanted to talk to somebody first.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm glad that he's coming to that realization, though, before he has to. Like, it's not, oh, wait,
Before
before.
he's forced.
Exactly. This is going to be in the paper tomorrow. So I wanted to let you know right now, blah, 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 blah. He's telling her well ahead of time. And I mean, she may question some things, but he didn't have concrete evidence until, further down the road. It's not like the night of he was like, oh, Christina, cut your brake lines.
And it's not like Rick is any better because he knows too. And he's also not telling her.
So. And he's blackmailing people. So.
Exactly. Right. He's stealing babies' funds.
Yeah.
But I hope he does. I think he will.
I think he will too. And I think that is going to help. Like, again, she's going to be mad at first, but it's going to help solidify the fact that he has changed because younger Lucky would have never given up that information until he absolutely had to. And even then, he would have been hoping something was going to change at the last minute that he didn't have to admit that he knew stuff. And I think that she's going to understand it's not the same level of wrongness because she wasn't the intended target. Like, if I had known that someone was out to kill you, then yes, I would have come to you firsthand and been like, hey, by the way, watch out for this person. This was an accident in the fact that no one ever expected you to be in that car.
Right. Exactly.
So
yeah, I think that's it.
It's going to be an explosive summer. The way they have all these storylines stacked, I like it. It makes me a little happier about the impatience that I've felt for the past couple months where I'm like, well, they just tell us already. Like, come on.
Right. Exactly.
Reality check.
So what do you have going on this week?
It was the last week of school. Madeline did not want me to buy teacher gifts. She wanted to paint a painting for each of her teachers. And so we went to the store and she bought canvases. And she had like two, you know how they like kind of break them up at this age, but they don't really, they're not like switching classes all the time. So she has two main teachers, and then out of like the special teachers, she really connected with the librarian this year. So she made a painting for each of them, and she did like a tree for the one, and it said something like, good teachers are hard to find and impossible to forget, or like one of those quotes that you see on all the teachery gifts she wrote. And then for the librarian, she made a stack of books, and then she like wrote a title on the end of each book. And I was like, wow, you really took your time with that. That was nice. And so she gave them to them yesterday, and she said that that the male teacher said thank you, and you could tell he really liked it, but that the female teachers cried. And I was like, yeah, I kind of figured that they would. And she cried because it was her last day. She moves up to the junior high, so she was sad to leave all of those teachers. And I don't know. Again, I know she's nowhere close to being done with school, but it is like bittersweet moments because of her being my last. But I'm like, I'm sorry that you're sad. I'm sad. Why are you getting so big? And then on top of that, yesterday, I had a car that I bought years ago during one of my times with my ex that he had left, and he didn't pay the cars. And so both of the cars got repoed. And so I had to go out on my own and buy a car. And even though it was older. So anyway, I had got this car because I was without a car. And so it was a very big, like, emotional this is the card that leads to my independence of me and the kids. And so I kept it forever because it just had like minor little things that would go wrong with it here or there. And I probably kept it longer than I should have. But this week or last week, the mechanic that we've used for years, he did my Nana's cars, he did my mom's cars. He told me that he was retiring. And so I had to officially go and like junk the car and at the same time say goodbye to the mechanic. And I was just like a mess and I was not prepared for it because I thought like, sign the title, they'll junk the car, whatever, no big deal. And say goodbye to this guy and whatever. And like the whole way home, I'm like crying. I called Ryan and I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm crying over a car and the car guy. And it was just like, it was too much. And the car guys, like I said, you've been around forever. Like I don't remember a time that you didn't work on my family's car. And he absolutely instantly was like, yeah, your grandma lived on this street. And I remember this funny story of
Aw.
dropping off the car to her one day and blah, blah, blah. And so it made it even more like, oh my God, like my Nana's been gone 20 some years and like you're still remembering stories of whenever you did stuff with her car. So
Well,
yeah.
and that's one of those things that it's like, he deals with so many people,
Right.
but you only have him. Like he's your mechanic. So it's like easier for you to remember him than for him to remember you. But to hear, nope, your grandma and this is where she lived, like you realize you're losing someone that cares about your family,
Right, right,
you know.
exactly. No, it was a lot because I'm not usually, we've joked about it, talked about it before. I'm not usually as emotional as some other people are. And I'm not a hugger. Like my family, that's not how we grew up. We like never hug. And so whenever I went to leave, I was like, well, good luck. And like, I'm glad that you're doing this for you or whatever. And he put out his hand to like shake my hand. And I went right in for a hug. And I was like, have a good retirement, enjoy everything, keep in touch, blah, blah. But yeah, it was just, I don't know. It was too much emotionally to say goodbye to the car that meant everything and the mechanic. And then it being Madeline's last day too, I was like, oh, okay, I need to go home and take a nap or something. This is affecting me too much.
It's a lot.
So, but yeah, that was my week. I'm glad that it's all said and done though. Like rolling into next week, fresh start all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand that because my daughter graduated on Thursday and I was I had to hold back being a hot mess because I was watching her during the ceremony and she
Yeah.
was holding back and every time she looked at me, I would just smile and she goes,
Oh
and I was like, okay, I need to stop. Well, then Erica is bawling
no.
because she saw my daughter and she's like, I just couldn't hold it back. And then I saw it like, and it was you. And I'm just like, well, okay.
That's
So,
not fair. I hope you yelled at her but didn't yell at her. Like you're not allowed to cry if I can't cry.
but it was the homeschool district that you and I both live in actually was and was going to attend the graduation because when the kids are out of district, they still get a diploma from the home school district because they completed the requirements for graduation for the school district. And so I get a phone call at 9:44
Oh.
from the CEO of my daughter's school. Were you aware that the homeschool district was coming up today to deliver her diploma because homeschool district had delayed graduation
Yes.
because of the weather. So they were intending on being at my daughter's on Thursday, but because graduate, and she even said, she's like, and they're like, you have to be there.
Yeah.
So she made a point of coming to the school and I told my friend and it was her last day, like it was graduation day. And so typically I have my networking meeting at 8 and typically my office has a meeting and my office didn't have a meeting. And I was like, you know what? I'm not missing the last day she gets on the bus.
Yeah.
So, or the last day that she goes, like I'm not
Yeah.
missing that. And so I was still in my PJs crying and just being sentimental, just thinking, because I mean, it's been 13 years since she's been at that school and it was
Wow.
until second grade. She had been in 4 elementary schools before we found this school and just the way that our lives have changed because of this school. And I'm losing a huge support system for myself.
Right.
And, you talk about the teachers and everything. 2 of them have been there since day one.
Aw.
And we got them special gifts. And the one I saw after graduation, she's like, I will read the card later. I started to, and then I went, nope. And I told her, I was like, truth be told, I'm still in my PJs. She's like, I can delay them. I said, okay, I can be there by like 10:15. And so we just did it in the lobby of the school, and the homeschool district gave her diploma. And they're like, we already have her cap and gown here, so we can dress her and we'll do that. And they're like, but can we have it back so that we can actually give it to her tonight?
Aw, that's so sweet.
And then her teacher that he had her when she first started, and then he has transitioned to being in the adult education program. So he's been her teacher again for the past 3 years. And so he saw her, and he says, like, during his speech, she came in as a 9-year-old hiding under her table, like hiding under her desk, because she was so scared, and just the growth of her, so like everything. And like she's crying through his whole thing. And then she and I are walking around after graduation, and everyone's hugging us, and they're like, are you okay? I'm like, no. And then she's crying, and then she's making the staff cry. And it was just, I mean, it's a lot. So, yeah, it was definitely. And then I just took yesterday off to be a zombie because it was exhausting. I've done a lot over the past 16 years since diagnosis. And I mean, she even attended special preschools before because there were some developmental delays that we knew about before diagnosis. And then, I mean, hands down, the best thing that ever happened to her was diagnosis, because it was allowed us to get her the type of education that she needed and just her growth. And she's going to be able to do what she wants to be able to do.
Right.
You know, and he even said that. He's like, she kept me on task. And she was his teacher's assistant to the teacher, or assistant to the teacher's assistant, or something like that. So it was sweet. But yeah, I mean, we're still working on getting some things together. She's been doing a part-time job with an organization through the school, and we reached out to them this week about her if there's even an opening for her to continue. So they said that they would talk about it. So we'll see how that goes. But she's actually going to go back for 2 days next week because that program hasn't wrapped up yet.
Oh, nice.
So she's going to go on Tuesday and Thursday to finish that before we go on vacation. So
awesome.
Yeah. Just I didn't lose my mechanic, so that's good, but just a very emotional week.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all that happened with me.
Oh, well, I'm happy for you and
all
for
that
her.
happened, but
No, but yeah, you should be proud of both of you. That was a big accomplishment. So, and I loved your husband's Facebook picture of each of the kids and their cap and gown from the deal.
He made his Facebook cover.
Yes.
Of both of their graduation photos, and it just says class of 2025. And actually, we are on our way this afternoon to celebrate our kids, but also our 2 nephews that graduated this year.
So you have a lot of 2025s that you're celebrating.
We do. So, yeah. But join us on Thursday as we keep talking about Lucky and Liz and what's going on with Jason and Jake.
And with that, have a good week.
And we'll meet you at the pier.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, we invite you to go to peer54podcast.com to subscribe on your favorite platform. Don't forget to leave us a review. And you can also follow us on many social media channels. Just search for Peer 54 Podcast. Also, we are not perfect, so if there is something that we missed or messed up, just let us know by emailing us at peer54podcast@gmail.com.